Rode recently announced the Rodecaster Video S, which S, not this one, this is the regular Rodecaster Video, but I'm a visual person and I like to show things. The Rodecaster Video S is a smaller, the S could potentially stand for smaller, version of this. Rode did offer to send one to review, which was very nice, but I've just been really busy and the number of review units available was a bit limited, so I kind of just didn't want to take one if I wasn't going to really dive into it, because as cool and fully featured and amazing as the Rodecaster Video is, there's simultaneously not a lot to talk about with the Rodecaster Video S, but also a lot to talk about not just for it, but kind of how it reframes things. So right off the bat, if you are wondering what the heck it even is, what the S am I talking about, it's not too dissimilar from a couple of years ago when Rode released the Rodecaster Duo, which has since become like one of my favorite devices that they've ever released. So the Rodecaster Duo is basically just a smaller version of the Rodecaster Pro 2. It has the exact same internals. The only difference is you get fewer connections and fewer physical faders and fewer SmartPad buttons. So fewer physical things and connections. Internally, these are identical, which is what makes the Rodecaster Duo such an awesome value, is you get everything from the big one. Most people, especially home creators, don't necessarily need the 4 inputs and all this stuff, so this is like kind of the most practical option. It's really my #1 recommended interface mixer. I love the Duo. It's the one that lives on, what was that sound? The Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Video S share a very similar relationship, but not entirely. So the Rodecaster Duo is $499 and the Rodecaster Pro 2 is $699. So a bit more expensive. The Rodecaster Video, the full-size one, is $1,199, so $1,200, and the Rodecaster Video S is $499. It's the same price as the Rodecaster Duo, which is phenomenal. So if you want to know my overall thoughts about the Rodecaster Video S, the S could stand for super value, because $499 for a multi-input switcher with the audio capabilities, because the thing with the Rodecaster Video and now the Video S, their audio capabilities absolutely blow away every other video switcher. It's not even close, because what you have inside is essentially a Rodecaster Duo. In this, you have this functionality and this processing and the 2 XLR inputs just built into here. Form factor is different, of course, but the capabilities are all in here. The same thing is true for the Rodecaster Video S. So again, form factor being different, but price point, you're paying the same price for the Rodecaster Duo, but you're getting also a video switcher. That is pretty amazing. So 0 complaints there. Where it does get a little bit different between the Rodecaster Video S and the full-size Rodecaster Video compared to the Duo and the 2, God, there's so many product names. These, like I said, you have fewer connections, fewer inputs on the Rodecaster Duo, but otherwise they're exactly the same. And even your I/O on the back, minus like the extra connections, are exactly the same. That is not the case with the Rodecaster Video S, especially if you look at the I/O on the back. So the S in this case could stand for stripped down, because it is a little more stripped down than the full-size version. It's not exactly just a smaller version. The things that you lose, that I understand you lose at least, you don't get monitor outputs. So this has 1/4-inch monitor outputs. You don't have those. You don't have a micro SD card port, which, even though I do have a micro SD card in here, I don't really think that's a huge deal. I've always used an attached SSD, because that just, especially for video related things, just kind of makes more sense. So I don't think that's too big of a deal to get rid of. And obviously you are losing, the biggest thing is one of the HDMI inputs. You have 3 on the Rodecaster Video S versus 4 here. You're losing one of the HDMI outputs. You're basically losing the EF and 5/6 buttons here. So these are kind of cut out and everything's condensed. You're losing 5/6 instead of 6/7, I guess. So that means in the full-size Rodecaster Video, you can save 7 scenes, and in the Rodecaster Video S, you can save 5 scenes. So fewer scenes to be seen. You also lose one of the USB-C connections on the Rodecaster Video S, but you can still connect a webcam. You can still connect it, to your computer, connect an SSD, all that kind of stuff. And you also lose these little antenna connections, because the full-size Rodecaster Video comes with antennas. So if you're doing things wirelessly or whatever, you can then kind of boost your signal. So that's why it's not exactly the same as the Rodecaster Duo versus the Rodecaster Pro 2, because there are more differences between the Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Video S. But the thing with the Rodecaster Video is it's really not necessarily geared towards people like myself. It's really not geared towards like home creators, solo creators, kind of even really content creators. It's geared towards podcasters, and it's geared towards like live event production and that sort of thing, corporate stuff, which is also why the 1080 workflow has really not been a problem for the most part, because a lot of those situations are based around 1080 workflows. The Rodecaster Video S, with the things they've taken out and the price point, I think is not only geared towards those things if you just don't need everything that this does, but it does kind of open it up much more practically to the home creator, the solo creator, the content creator space. And that is pretty exciting. So I have literally nothing bad to say about the Rodecaster Video S. I think it's awesome. It can't do everything that the full-size version can do, but it can do a lot. And for the price, it's amazing, especially if you think that, a base model ATEM Mini with 4 HDMI inputs is $300. You spend $200 more, and you get a heck of a lot more built-in functionality, and you get the audio on this. It might as well not have it. It's so bad. You get really, really nice, essentially a Rodecaster Duo built inside for just a couple $100 more than this. And that is the problem. The Rodecaster Video S highlights some issues with the original Rodecaster Video, especially now that it's been out for a while. This is too expensive. The price difference between the Duo and the Rodecaster Pro 2 is $200. We're dealing with video here. Video is way more complex than audio, so I know it's not going to be a $200 difference. This, the full-size Rodecaster Video, I think needs to be under $1,000. Ideally, $899. Make it a $900 device. You get the Rodecaster Video S for $500. You get this one for $900. That, I think, is very, very fair. And the reason for that is 4K, which is always a thing that I have for years now explained why switchers like this, it's not practical to have 4K in them, because 4K requires more processing power, it drives up the price, it makes things more expensive. But the problem is, as I've said, I've been explaining that for years. And so 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago, that was a lot more true than it is now. Now, 4K is becoming more standard, it's becoming more accessible, and it's becoming more expected. Not just being able to record in 4K, but also being able to stream and just sort of output things into 4K. Even if you are doing a live event and that only needs to be streamed or handled in that event space in 1080, being able to record that in a 4K workflow, I think is very important. So for $500, the Rodecaster Video S being 1080, totally fair. I would never expect that to be a 4K device. Rode does have the very strange and often overlooked Streamer X, which is now $249, half the price of the Rodecaster Video S. You have one XLR input and you have one HDMI input, but this is 4K capable with HDMI pass-through as well. So this is like a Rodecaster Solo built into a 4K capture card. So this is the only 4K video device that Rode offers. So this is just all my opinion, of course, but from what I understand, and especially, having had the Rodecaster Video since before it was even launched, Rode's #1 priority with this was reliability. And I'm guessing the same thing is true with the Rodecaster Video S. They want this to be rock solid reliable, no matter how many of the features you're using. So if you're using it as a basic switcher, it's good. If you're adding in all the scenes, all the graphics, all the processing, all the chroma key, everything, still super reliable. It's much easier to make something that reliable when it's a 1080 workflow. As soon as you start adding 4K, we might be able to switch reliably, but then you're doing scenes and graphics and overlays and all the pictures and things. Then you could potentially reduce some reliability just because it takes so much more processing power to handle 4K than it does 1080. But something I've said before, and I'll say it again right here, is I do really wish, I guess in an ideal world, I would love for some 4K functionality to be added to the Rodecaster Video. It'd be cool if it was also on the S, but at least the more expensive Rodecaster Video through a firmware update. My proposal is to just make it a simple 4K switcher. So add a mode, essentially, that is like 4K mode, and then you don't get any of the fancy stuff. You don't get the scenes and the graphics and the overlays. You just switch between sources. You just record your 4K sources. As the user, I can then decide I'm doing a 4K workflow. I will just switch between my 4K sources, or I want all that fancy stuff. I will go to 1080 so I can get all the fancy stuff. Because even then, the stripped down version would still be a 4K multi-input switcher with the best audio of any video switcher that exists. So it would still be an incredibly powerful device, and then the user would get to decide, you know, if you want to give up features or not for 4K. I think that would be fair. The other option, if we're not doing firmware updates and this is going to be 1080, the Rodecaster Video S is going to be 1080, that's where I really think this price needs to come down, and then there could be a 4K version that is maybe around like the $1,400 or $1,500 price point. So this is $900-ish, and then that one's like $1,400 or $1,500, the 4K version. And the reason for that, the reason I'm thinking that is, oh, this is heavy. Because of this right here, the YOLOBox Extreme. This is $1,900, so it's more expensive than any of these, but it is 4K capable. This is the one multi-input 4K switcher that exists. And YOLO did a version of exactly what I'm describing here, which is you can use 4K, but there are limitations. Meaning this is an 8-input switcher, so you have 8 HDMI sources, but only 5 of them are 4K capable. So if you want to use a 4K workflow, you can only use 5 of your 8 inputs. The other 3 are just stuck to 1080. 5 4K inputs is still a lot of 4K, and this works really, really well. So I think it is worth 4King over the cash for something like this. But 8 inputs. We're only talking about 4 inputs here, 3 inputs on the Rodecaster Video S. If this is $1,899, $1,900, $1,500 for a full 4K version of the Rodecaster Video seems fair to me, because you don't have the built-in display, which also then includes a whole operating system and everything. The Rodecaster Video has to be connected to at least an external display to kind of see everything that it's doing, if not a computer, so that you can go into the Rode app and then, you know, build everything there. It's possible, but not very enjoyable to just do everything from this if it's not connected to something. So you do need those extra connectivity things, which is why I don't think it should be the same price as the YOLOBox Extreme. You also don't have as many inputs. This is just a more fully featured device, which is why it's more expensive. So all that to say, going back to the Rodecaster Video S, I think it is awesome, and I kind of can't believe they put it out for the price that they did, because it is unreal, not just for the video capabilities, but then you fold in the audio capabilities, and it's absolutely next level. It highlights maybe some updates and changes, if nothing else, at least to the price of the Rodecaster Video, that I think really need to be adjusted in order to make this more competitive and accessible in today's multi-input video switching landscape, which is different than just when this was released, you know, not that long ago, just a bit over a year ago at this point. And then folding in some sort of 4K, whether that's through updates to these or a new product that doesn't exist yet, because the YOLOBox is over here. This has been out for a year at this point, almost a year, and it kind of proves that all the things I'm asking for can be done. This can do 5 input sources with still all the graphics, overlays, mixing, auto switching, everything. So it can be done, and it doesn't need to cost more than $1,800, $1,900 here. I'm looking for fewer options here at a lower price point. And then I think these will start to be opened up, not just for event and kind of corporate productions, not even just podcasts, but then it becomes a whole workflow for solo creators, home creators, especially those looking for high quality yet simple 4K workflows. I have a whole video about the YOLOBox Extreme on how that kind of has completely changed my multicam 4K workflow, and it would be awesome if the Rodecaster Video could be used in a similar fashion.